is sponsored by Great White Hot Sauce. It's a small batch, handmade hot sauce made specially for you. So if you like hot sauce, you'll love Great White Hot Sauce. It's the hot sauce that bites back. Find it at www.trygreatwhite.com.
So did you ever hear a band that you said, this band is going to be great, and you buy their first album and you say, this band is going to be great. Then you wait for their second album and it finally comes out. You scoop it up, you bring it home, you play it, and it just sucks. And the band never really makes it. Well, that's what we're talking about on this episode. Bad second albums. Enjoy.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
The KOFB studio presents Milk Crates and Turntables, a music discussion podcast hosted by Scott McLean with his co-host Jack Calabrese. Now, let's talk music. Enjoy the show.
Thank you, Amanda, for that wonderful introduction as usual. Welcome to the podcast. You know the name, so I'm not going to say it. We're streaming live right now over Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, because Twitter is fun again, as I say. So no Jack right now. I don't know where he is. He's running behind, but that's okay. The show must go on, which means I always have to be ready, because this is becoming a kind of the norm now. So the intro said bad second albums. It's kind of not bad second albums. It's second albums, third album. The band that just couldn't compete with the first album. But I don't know if I'll talk about that. We'll see. We'll see. So I always have something on the side. I always have something ready now because of the unpredictable Jack Calabrese. And so let me throw some stuff around. Some did you knows. You know I like those. Some trivia. I'll ask you some trivia. We'll see how far it goes. But I was listening to Sirius satellite radio today, and I think it was Classic Rewind or Classic Vinyl. I think it was Classic Vinyl, and they were saying that there's a rumor out there that Pink Floyd is kind of sniffing around at maybe selling their catalog. What the fuck? So Springsteen got $500 million for his catalog and publishing rights. I think Sony paid for that. What do you think Pink Floyd's catalog is worth? I mean, that's crazy. That's got to be. If Bruce Springsteen got 500, you got to think Pink Floyd's 800. You have to. There's no way it's going to be less than or the equal to Springsteen. But we'll see. Scott, the IT guy. Where's Jack? That's a good question. I just got a text at I don't know, 8 minutes to 8, saying that he's running behind. So, but I'm getting used to this. He won't be around for the next 2 episodes either. I think at least 1, but I'm pretty sure 2 episodes. So, if anybody's interested, there could be a job opening on the Milk Crates and Turntables podcast. I'm serious. I'm serious. I love Jack. I do. And this is between me and him, but the show must go on. I can carry it solo. I think I do an adequate job. But, Jack and I have already had a discussion, and we'll see where it goes. Scott, the IT guy, says he's a busy man. Cross-dressing is a time-consuming hobby. Oh, Jesus. There you go. Killer. So, yeah, what do you think Pink Floyd's catalog would be worth? Holy shit. That'd be interesting. I know Bob Dylan sold his. I don't know if they disclosed how much, but his had to be worth more than, well, would it be worth more than Springsteen? I don't know. So since Jack might just pop in on the show, $3 and a pack of envelopes for the Pink Floyd catalog? Here we go. A couple hundred, Perry Dietrich watching on YouTube, a couple of 100 million as far as what? Because if Springsteen got 500 for his catalog and publishing rights, Pink Floyd's got to get more than that. I mean, they have to. They're just bigger than Springsteen. That's all there is to it. And more legendary. So, I don't know. We'll see. So, like I said, Jack might just pop in at any time. And that's fine. That's fine. But in the meantime, let me see. What do I have here? Let me see if I have anything I want to talk about on my own as far as this stuff. I mean, I could start going through it, but as far as second albums, I also wanted to talk about albums that, oh, here he is. Look at that. He's only 7 minutes and 25 seconds late. The elusive, the habitually late and habitually absent Jack Calabrese.
Hey, how are you?
You're only 7 minutes and 35 seconds late. I was just about to go into my my stack of did you knows and trivia for the audience.
Oh, no, you don't want to do that.
Why? That shit's fun. That shit's fun. I actually enjoy doing that.
I'm sure you do, and I'm sure that the audience enjoys it as much as you love doing it.
Hey, did you? I don't know if you caught it, but I was talking about this. I heard earlier today on Classic Vinyl that there's a rumor that Pink Floyd's sniffing around at maybe selling their catalog.
Well, there's a lot of that's gone on lately, right?
So if Springsteen sold his catalog and his publishing rights for $500 million, what do you think Pink Floyd's is worth?
I would venture to guess that it's probably
I already said a number. Less.
I think it might be less.
Oh, no fucking way.
Well,
name one thing that I mean, another brick in the wall in itself is a marketer's dream.
Yeah, no
Dark
question
Side
about
of the
it.
Moon is a marketer's dream.
Yeah.
You could go on.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, and I may be completely wrong. There's no question about it. I'll give you my thinking. My thinking is that if you look at the catalog, Springsteen compared to Pink Floyd, he has put out 3 times as much music. I mean, Pink Floyd, the real Pink Floyd stopped, The Wall, the final cut was what, 79 to 80? You still, Springsteen put out a record a couple of years ago.
yeah, and who listened to it? Has anybody listened to anything after, I don't know, Tunnel of Love or
Oh,
whatever?
sure.
I mean, his hits waned.
Devils and Dust, The Rising, Magic. Those are all great.
I like
records.
The Rising. I was very apprehensive about that. And I think Girls in Their Summer Clothes is on The Rising, or is that on the
we talked about
this.
That's on Magic.
Magic, yeah. I really like that song. I mean, that's some old Springsteen right there. But again, if you look at the magnitude of popularity and just the classic rock cult heroes that Pink Floyd is, and they're so elusive.
Do you think that Springsteen is not in the same league as Pink Floyd?
I think he's a rung below. He's a rung below Pink Floyd. I put Pink Floyd up there with, of course, the Rolling Stones, the Who, Aerosmith, Black Sabbath. There is a hierarchy, and listen, being on a rung below those guys, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, there's a lot of people that would disagree with me, I think, but this is just my opinion. I don't think he is in the upper echelon. So he's in the first rung, maybe the lower half of the first rung, or the middle.
So are you saying that Springsteen got $500 million for his catalog in his publishing?
And yes, by Sony. Sony paid for that. Yeah.
Okay. I would venture to guess that Pink Floyd would probably be about the same.
I say,
you think it'll be 800 million?
Yeah, Ann Gallivan, watching on Facebook, she said the same thing. She thinks it'll be 800 million. Let me see. We got some comments rolling in. Scott Locke says $3 in a pack of envelopes. Scott, the IT guy. He also said you were busy cross-dressing because it's a time-consuming hobby. So he was throwing boulders at you when you weren't here. Perry Dinovich seems to think only a couple of 100 million watching on YouTube.
Look. I think that the Pink Floyd catalog is very, very, very valuable.
So,
and it should be.
Mark
right?
Smith said it right here. Longest running charting album ever. There's lots of money in that. Lots of money.
Right, but wait a minute. You talked about, from a marketability standpoint, right?
Yeah.
You think about the popularity of Pink Floyd's albums. No question, Dark Side of the Moon, one of the most historic, monumental, landmark albums ever made. And The Wall, not far behind. But, from a general population standpoint, right? Aside from the song Wish You Were Here, Maybe Have a Cigar, there's not a lot of people that know that album. There's not a lot of people that know Animals. There's not a lot of people that know The Final Cut.
I think you're wrong. I don't think... I'm just going to say, you're an idiot. I haven't said that in a while.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
That one was a little forced. It was a little forced.
That was your comment, or you're an idiot? Which one? Either way. But I think it'll be interesting to see. And then they're only sniffing around. It's a rumor, but rumors start somewhere, right? There has to be, somebody had to say something to somebody.
Care to make it interesting?
Sure. What are we betting now?
I don't know. What do you want to bet? How about a bottle of great white hot sauce?
You're on.
No. I'll tell you what. I would put.
You think it's going to be all right? So we'll keep 500 as the over/under.
Okay.
And I say over 500.
All right.
And I'll even give you a push. I'll even give you the push if it's 500. Because usually that's a wash, but I'll give you the push. If it's 500 or below 500, you win.
Okay.
So kind of.
How much?
$50.
You're on.
All right. $50. I mean, this isn't a bet that might never happen. Just like the tickets for Oasis.
That's definitely going to happen.
There we go. Hey, so I was thinking this. All right, we got more. The viewers are pouring in tonight. Let me see. Dave Phillips, glad to see Jack is back. He says hello, boys. Mark Smith says, watching on YouTube, Roger Waters and David Gilmour would have to agree on the sale. That's, of course, that could take years. Roger Waters wrote most of the songs. I foresee legal issues.
Well, you know what? I wish that I had done a little bit of research before I had made this bet. How many albums do you think that Pink Floyd has sold worldwide?
Oh, they're up there in the top. I believe they're in the top 5. So
throw out a number. How many?
300 million? I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're not that far off. 250 million.
Yeah.
How many albums has Bruce Springsteen sold?
I don't know, 400 million.
No, 150.
Yeah, I thought that was one of those trick questions. He's like,
yeah,
he got more. Yeah. So
I positioned it so you would go the other way. But it actually bodes well for you in terms of like album sales and whatnot. I mean, if you're going by pure numbers, technically, the Pink Floyd catalog should be worth a lot more than the Springsteen catalog.
What do you think? So car advertisers are the biggest. I think, I don't know this statistically, but I think car manufacturers are the biggest buyers of classic rock or music in general for their advertisements, popular songs, right?
Yeah.
What do you think is going to sell more cars? Glory Days or Brick in the Wall? Now we were in a whole that has nothing to do with the sale of the thing, because a record company will more likely buy it.
I got to be honest with you. I think that I see Pink Floyd being used in a lot of pharmaceutical company ads.
And you know what? Yeah, these new cannabis farms and.
Can you see the Prozac commercial with comfortably numb?
Comfortably numb, yeah. So I just kind of glanced by me when we talked about it, but I was thinking about it today. So Judas Priest gets in to the Hall of Fame for musical excellence, right?
They got screwed.
Like, which is a fucking you might as well just have Hall of Fame like A and then the B League Hall of Fame, right? So does that mean that they can't go in on a regular ballot anymore? That we sealed you as musical excellence and you can't go in?
I don't technically know the rules, but I think that is the case.
That's so. They are very prejudiced.
Well, and it's such a bullshit. Look, they created this other category to let people in that wouldn't have otherwise been.
But they don't really want to vote in, but they know they have to.
No, but I mean, what do they lose? What do they lose by putting in Judas Priest? I mean, here's a band. Okay, so they're not the Pink Floyd or even Springsteen level, but I think Judas Priest has probably sold, 50, 70 million albums. They've been around for decades and decades. Loyal fans, concert tours and whatnot. They got screwed. So it just goes to show you how much the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is. They just don't have their shit together. They just don't.
So I talked about this last week, and I read this article, and it was a very good article, and had a lot of good commenting on it. And one of the groups, so it was through the lens of two voters. One was a younger voter, the other has been around for about 20 years. And Judas Priest came up, and one of them had said that you can tell that the old regime from Rolling Stone is still in charge over there, or they still have a lot of sway, because Rolling Stone never gave heavy metal its credit. And if you look at Black Sabbath being in there, then there's no reason why Judas Priest shouldn't be in there. And I said this, my comment was also, if you're going to if there's a holy trinity of heavy metal, it's Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, and you can switch out either Motorhead or Iron Maiden. One or the other fits in there. If you want to have the 4 signs of the cross, then they're all 4 are in there. And they shit on them. And they'll shit on Iron Maiden. You know, they just will never give. But they'll put Run fucking DMC in there. Right?
Well, I mean, you know what? Again,
They'll
I
put
think
fucking Carly Simon in there.
I think that if you look at the voting crew for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it's a lot of music critics. And music critics historically have not been very kind to heavy metal.
Jack, you and I are music critics.
I don't know if
we are.
I don't know if we're music critics. You may be a
Why?
music critic.
Why?
I seem to like everything.
Oh, I don't know. You've had a couple of comments to say about shit that I like. So
Like
synth,
what?
like synth music and all that. Yeah, give me this. You're not that nice. You're the nice cop. I'm the bad cop. You're a good cop, but you're not that good. You're not that good.
You know what? I like synth music. Hey, I'm going to see the Pet Shop Boys.
Well, you fucking better. You should.
I'm going to see the Pet Shop Boys.
It's a very entertaining show.
Deb and I are going to see Bauhaus.
Yeah, well, that's Deb's. That's Deb's world right there. Yeah.
We're going to see Sigur Rós, who you may or may not know.
Nope.
But and we've seen Depeche Mode, and I've seen Erasure, and
you didn't like Depeche Mode though too much. I remember you said you weren't really, which is fine. I'm a huge fan, but I'm not
I think we caught him on a bad night. And with the Depeche Mode show that I saw, the problem that I had was it was one of those classic things where we paid a lot of money and we really wanted to hear Depeche Mode's greatest hits, and they really wanted to focus on their new album. I understand that. I understand that. The show for me just wasn't balanced, and they just didn't have the crowd in the palm of their hand like I've seen them in videos be able to do.
We saw the same tour. Yeah, I believe we saw the same tour. And in Miami, that crowd was just they had them in the palm of their hand. So I don't know what that, it could have been just a bad night, like you said. Bands have them.
It could have been anything. Look, I mean, there are a lot of things that influence whether you have a great time at a show. I know for me, you want to see a great band, obviously. Yeah. You want the crowd to be into it. You want a great set list. I have to tell you, and I think that you're affected by the same thing. If I'm not close, like really close, I'm not happy.
Yeah, you know what? I'm fucking spoiled like that now. Well, I always wanted to be close. Even when we were kids, I would make my way up to get close. Although when I saw Depeche Mode, we weren't close, but we were a little less than halfway, which was fine. I've seen them, I think, 6 times. So, and that's a group that I will see every time they come around. It's my thing.
One of the few.
One of the few. One of the few. Korn is always a group that I'll see. I was thinking the other day, I saw the Cult twice. I kind of forgot that. I saw them headline at the Orpheum, and then I saw them back up Billy Idol at the Worcester Centrum.
A great band.
Great band, dude.
Incredibly underrated band.
So I have to correct myself. Some shows back, we talked about the Pretenders, and I mentioned that Chrissy Hine mooned the crowd. That wasn't her. That was the lead singer of the Cult. It was the same summer, I believe. And I was
Ian Asbury.
Ian Asbury, yeah, the former naval Royal Navy helicopter mechanic before he was part of who were originally called the Southern Death Cult, and the record company was like, that's not going to float in America. That's not going to float.
You know what? I have to plead ignorance or forgetfulness, and I'm sure that we've talked about this before. But what is the band or artist that you've seen most?
I think it's Korn. Believe it or not.
How many times have you seen Korn?
I think I've seen Korn 7 times, 7 times.
Wow,
I fucking love them, and that's been since 1994.
Yeah, I mean that's a band that has some longevity, but I mean it's not like. There are some people that have seen, Aerosmith, a bunch of times. And look, if you're a fan, they have such a long career. Their first album came out in 1973. if you're a big fan, you're going to see Aerosmith a lot because they used to tour a lot, and they've been touring for years and years and years.
I've only seen them once.
Yeah, for me, I have literally lost count.
Yeah,
on how many times I've seen Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
The Dave Matthews Band. I know that I've seen Springsteen at least 15 or 16 times. The biggie for me, and I can almost name every one of the shows. I've seen U2.
I was going to say, yeah.
26 times.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've seen them 6.
Yeah. 26 times, which is kind of cool, but it's kind of a little fucked up.
Well, I mean, and so you are like our friend Jimmy Hurley, he's a collector of locations. He loves going places. And then when he's there, he makes the best of it. And he will just roam around. He wants to see it all. So he collects locations, states, whatever, cities. He just loves doing that when he travels. He really absorbs it. You are a collector of concerts. You just go. It's kind of in you now. It's so innate that you're like, yeah, we're going to go to this show. We're going to go to that show. You go to shows that people don't even know about. There was a period of time like, Joshua Tree, the Zoo TV tour and whatnot. And I think when they played Foxborough 3 nights, I went 3 nights. Yeah.
Just, couldn't get enough. And part of it was, look, the first night I went with you and John Farmer, and the second night I went with my friends from Strawberries, and the third night I went with my girlfriend, or, whatever the case was. But, always did that. Look at Dave Phillips, Jay Giles, 15 times.
15, he is a big proponent of them getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which when was the last time they were nominated? I don't know.
They have been nominated.
Yeah.
They, in my opinion, you look at some of the other bands that have got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I don't see any
Carly Simon.
Oh God.
Just saying.
Poor Carly Simon.
Who's more rock and roll?
Yeah, you're just torturing poor Carly Simon.
I love Carly Simon. I do. Like I said, greatest mouth in the history of music.
Yeah.
And then Sheryl Crow. I went down. Do you want me to start this again?
No, I really don't.
Simon has a fantastic mouth.
You're a sick bastard.
I love it though. Okay.
This conversation is venturing into a territory that I'm not comfortable with.
Like the last time. So I just got a text actually from our friend Phil Kelly. Right?
Hey, congratulations, Uncle Fetus.
Yeah, right. I know. He wants me to ask you, who had the best set at Live Aid?
Well, you have to qualify that question. Does he mean Philly or London? Now Phil and
did you go to Philly?
Phil and I stayed in the same hotel room. You didn't go to fucking
London. I know that. I would have knew about that.
And you know what? Talk about regrets. We had the opportunity to go to London.
Yeah,
and it was cheap at the time, but we just couldn't get us. We didn't have passports. At the time.
Well, that's a big and kind of thing.
I mean, at the time, in terms of like money and just us being kind of like kids from Winthrop, London may have been Mars. It was just like. No, you don't go to London, but Philly.
He said in Philadelphia at Live Aid, don't let him down. Who had the best set? And if you say something else and then I say this band, you're going to go, yeah. Let's say we've already mentioned them. I don't want to leave you and put the pressure on you. I know you don't handle pressure well.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think. There were a lot of good sets in Philly. If he's talking about Philly,
yeah, he
is. I need a minute to think about it.
Do you want me to give you the name of the group and you say if it was or wasn't?
Sure.
He said that you and him agreed Judas Priest had the best set at Live Aid. He said, ask him Judas Priest at Live Aid, best set.
They were really good.
Yeah.
They were really good. And one of the weird things about seeing Judas Priest, I don't remember the exact time, but I think we saw Judas Priest at like 11:30 in the morning, which is a weird time to see Judas Priest. And by the way, just because you mentioned them, and I don't know if this is true or not, but like Run DMC was like almost immediately after.
Yeah.
I mean,
isn't that great?
The cool thing about Live Aid was, there was such a diversity in terms of the acts that were there that, like the morning was, Judas Priest, Black Sabbath went on with Ozzy, which, appeared to be pretty early. You had Hall & Oates with the guys from the Temptations.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
You had Crosby, Stills and Nash. You had Neil Young that did a solo thing and then came out and they did a thing, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
Yeah.
You had young Madonna there that was, still so new that she actually partnered up with the Thompson twins.
Who was that?
But Madonna.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So,
but I have to tell you that the thing that stands out to me, and I think that they were dating at the time, they may have even been married at the time, was the Pretenders and Simple Minds went on back to back.
Okay.
You know who else was really good at Live Aid in Philly? The Cars.
Not the most exciting band on stage, but great sound.
They had their sound together.
Yeah.
But Phil may be right. It's it's been such a long time. I think before I go to bed tonight, Phil, I will go onto YouTube and I will listen to the Judas Priest set at Live Aid.
That's not,
which, by the way,
because you're going to bed in like an hour.
No. By the way, you want to hear something crazy? And Phil, if you're out there and if you still have it, I actually looked up just for the hell of it on eBay. I still have my ticket stub from Live Aid. The concert ticket was $35. Now, that was 1985, but still, for all of those acts, it wasn't a whole lot of money. That ticket stub right now is going on YouTube for almost $600.
Jesus.
$600.
Memorabilia now.
It is memorabilia.
So I wonder what a full ticket that didn't get used is worth.
Hey, gang, if you're out there, if you have your old ticket stubs are a hot item in the collector's market right now.
Yeah, when I went in the Air Force, I lost. My brother took all that shit.
You lost everything, man.
I lost
it's just
albums,
like me.
All my memorabilia, everything gone.
We had our magic record room down in the basement of the Calabrese household. And when I moved out, the care of those albums
just
went
fell apart.
Way downhill.
Yeah.
I remember like when all of us moved out of the house, my mother actually had somebody come to look at the albums with the intent of buying them. And he was going to cherry pick all of the good ones. And they were just trashed. You had beautiful first pressing albums that were just covered in Zambuca stains and Baileys.
But we didn't really understand back then first pressings either. We really didn't.
No.
I mean, we just bought the album and played it. Like a lot of the albums we got were first pressings because they were new.
Sure.
New group comes out, their album comes out, you go get it. It's usually a first pressing,
Yeah.
But we didn't think anything of it.
Nope.
Didn't think of. So I have a couple other things I want to talk about before we get into the meat of the podcast. Is there a best Eagles song? You know what I mean? Like, do you have a best Eagles song?
Everybody has a best Eagles song.
Right.
It's called Hotel California.
I can't. I don't. Not me.
Not that. Yeah, but that is.
I'm saying, what is your best? What is your favorite? I mean, everybody knows, but I would also go on.
My favorite Eagles song is probably One of These Nights.
So you got Take It Easy, Life in the Fast Lane, right? Hotel California.
It's a great song.
But I always go back to One of These Nights. You're right. I always go back to that. There's just something about the song also that there's a memory attached to it somehow. Just from being a kid, nothing special. But the song itself is just such a great song.
It's a great song. It's great musically. It's great lyrically. And Don Henley sings the shit out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
It's a
it's that
great
is a,
fucking song.
that is a great song. You know, I have friends and I don't know if this is like true in their heart. They're like, oh, I fucking hate the Eagles. So yeah, I'm like, yeah, do you really hate the Eagles or did you just see the Big Lebowski? And for
Which
those of
I've
you
never
that
seen that, you know.
if you haven't seen the Big Lebowski, you know, one of the things, the main character, the dude, is in a taxi cab and the taxi is playing the Eagles. And he's like, I fucking hate the Eagles, man. And he's trying the station, I fucking hate the Eagles. And he gets kicked out of the cab.
Yeah.
You know, so it's Jeff Bridges, you know, playing his, and I think that scene, the movie is so popular that it's created this thing like, oh, I think it's cool to hate the Eagles.
Right. Right. I don't know that you would know more than me. I've seen the movie in bits and pieces enough to kind of piece it together. Just like I've never seen a Rambo movie. I never saw Top Gun. I don't buy into those hype movies. I just don't. Although I guess I've seen enough Rambo, like I said, to put it together. Rambo 1 was actually a good movie. You know, they're thinking of fucking redoing that. These pieces of shit in Hollywood. They're fucking thinking of redoing Rambo. Even though I didn't see, I saw enough of it to say, okay, it's a good movie. So I never really had to sit down and watch it because I know what happens.
Dude, you kind of lived it, didn't you?
In the Philippines, yeah. But the original Rambo was like the original Terminator. It was just, and I know this is a music podcast, but yeah, these fuckers in Hollywood, these lazy pieces of dog shit, just want to remake everything. They don't have an original bone in their body.
Yeah, you know, the original Rambo was called First
Blood. Yeah.
And that, you know, that seemed to be like a lower budget movie. It had a kind of grittiness to it.
Yeah.
I thought that the first one was really good. And then of course it, you know, made all that money and then it became Rambo and it was high gloss and
yeah. And then one man beats the whole Russian army, you know, on a horse.
Yeah. It gets, you know, it just gets ridiculous.
Plus Rambo 1 had, what's his name in it? Dennis, the sheriff. I forget. I like that guy.
Oh, the guy that was in Cocoon.
Yeah, the big dude. What's his name? I don't know. I always liked him though. Brian Dennehy.
Brian Dennehy. Very good.
Yeah, I always liked him. Always liked that dude.
He was a likable guy.
Not a huge star. Consistently good.
Not so likable in First Blood.
No.
Played a bad guy.
No, he played a bad guy. Yeah, he played a
bad guy.
Yeah, he was just always a consistent character actor. He always did good, whatever he was in. So big ups to, I think, the late Brian Dennehy. I think he's dead. So I was listening the other day to Ringo's No song, right? I know. And I was thinking, this is such a fucking Beatles song. It is such a Beatles song. Just the melodies and the little quirkiness that they used to put in some of their songs.
Yeah, but it's a Ringo Beatles.
It's a Ringo Beatles, but still, they all had that kind of. When they were younger and they just broke up, they all, in their own way, had that little Beatles sound still stuck to them, which worked. It actually worked. Yeah. So, okay.
But I'll tell you before we move on, and not that this is related, but it's kind of related. On PBS, on your public broadcast system, you can probably find it in your on-demand section. They have a documentary on American Masters. It was John Lennon in New York City, and it really told the story of him, you know, after leaving the Beatles and having his lost weekend out in California. And realizing that he needed to make some changes in his life, and him going back to New York and kind of getting sober, getting himself cleaned up a little bit and whatnot. I have to tell you, it was the saddest thing in the world. Like the way that they did this, the way that they filmed it, the way that they told the story is that John Lennon was renewed. He was revitalized. He had momentum. He was getting ready to do a world tour. He was re-entering. Yeah. You know, and one of the cool things about it is in that, you know, you and I were only so many miles away when this happened.
I know.
But when John Lennon recorded Whatever Gets You Through the Night with Elton John said, "Hey, I'm playing at Madison Square Garden. I would love for you to come out and do the song and a couple of other songs with me." And John Lennon said, yeah, if it hits number one, I'll come out with you. And of course, it hit number one. And he wanted to live up to his word. So John Lennon flew to Boston. He was at the Boston Gardens while Elton John played at the Boston Garden. And then a couple of nights later, he came out and played as a guest at Madison Square Garden and received this huge standing ovation, which really blew him away because he had gotten a bunch of bad press because of Yoko and because of breaking up the Beatles and all that stuff. But it renewed his interest and his energy and whatnot. So this documentary, it builds up this momentum and you're feeling really positive, and then it ends the way that we all know it ended. Just
he gets blown away for real.
Yeah. They don't show it. They don't go into it.
No.
They don't exploit that part of it, but it just fucking rips your heart out.
Yeah.
Almost like the No song did to me when Ringo recorded that.
It's just such a quirky Beatles song. I mean,
terrible.
I listened
it's
to the
terrible.
whole thing. I listened to the whole thing.
Dude, any song that gets played on Dr. Demento, I'm sorry, it just loses all its credibility.
Then she pulled out a 10-pound bag of cocaine and said it was the finest in the land. And I said, no, I don't. No more.
Terrible song.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into the debut albums, and then bands that had the big debut albums, and just no album after that. I said second album but Perry Dietrich says that No song written by Hoyt Axton. Good call. Good call. I think they're auditioning for your job, Jack.
Hey, they can have it.
Mark Smith and Perry Dietrich, I think they're auditioning to be the Joan Rivers of Milk Crates and Turntables.
All yours, Perry. Run with it, brother.
The fill in, because Jack's gonna have a busy summer. Yeah. So he's not going to be here with the next 2 episodes.
No, I'll be around. I think I'm around next Wednesday, but then I'm leaving. I'm actually in Europe for 10 days. Italy.
That instrumental song.
Best instrumental ever. Except for the lyrics.
You'll never live that one down. I've made some stupid mistakes, but
I own it. I own it.
I've made some stupid.
Look, I was in the throes of COVID at the time. I had brain fog. I had COVID fog.
Great. That's great. Let me see. We have a town party. It's June 25th. We got to stop pushing. I think a lot of people are going to show up at the door. Our generation is kind of, and older, it's kind of fucking technically unsound.
Yeah, hey, I'm gonna go. Wait a minute, I have to use PayPal. Wait a minute.
That's like, I don't put my information online. I don't give them my information. Come on, it's not like you hear PayPal got hacked every week, but that's the way they are. That's the way they are. So I'm gonna give an example. So you had, I'll start it off with Guns N' Roses, right? Huge band, no doubt. But Appetite for Destruction was their debut. Then really nothing. Lies. But Lies was like half a live album. And I love the not live side of Lies, but
the acoustic side?
Yeah, I love that. But and then, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, and then the Spaghetti album. So if you think about it, they never really made it back to that original album. Nope. That they dominated the world. And to its credit, as you would say, because that's a Jack term, not a my term. To its credit, Jack would say, Appetite for Destruction has kept them afloat for 25 years, 30 years.
Longer than that.
Yeah, so let me see, 87? It came out in what, 87?
86, I think.
86? So it's 36 years ago. Yeah. So, yeah, let me start off with Guns N' Roses. Like, so that's the example I use. What do you have?
Well, I would, well, before we move on,
Yeah.
I would agree with you that I think that Guns N' Roses, if you look at their catalog, I mean, first and foremost, I mean, here's a band that's currently playing in stadiums right now.
Yeah.
And think about this.
Nostalgia.
As you had said, Appetite for Destruction. The Lies album was really meant to be. It was kind of a throwaway record.
Throwaway,
right?
yeah.
It was almost kind of like a demo type thing.
I've never listened to the live side of that.
Yeah. So
I've never listened to the live side.
Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, the Spaghetti Incident, and then Chinese Democracy. So as a band that's been around for 40 years. They put out 6 records.
Well, Axl put out 6 because the last 2 weren't Slash and Duff, and Use Your Illusion was I believe the last time most of them were together, right?
Yeah, they had different iterations of that band.
Buckethead.
But you're absolutely right. In my opinion, Appetite for Destruction is a masterpiece. It's a great record. There's a lot of deep cuts on it. There's a lot of great stuff. There's a lot of huge hits. It put that band on the map, and they're still riding that crest right now. If I were their manager, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, why don't we just combine them and take the best cuts out and take that other shit that's in there? And there is a lot of shit in there.
Yep.
And put out one good record.
That's what everybody said.
The Spaghetti Incident is a bunch of covers, isn't it? Isn't there a bunch of covers on that record?
I think so. I didn't pay attention to it really.
And then Chinese Democracy was a record that was in development for a decade and a half.
Yeah,
and
all
when
the talk.
Well, and when it came out, people didn't give a shit anymore.
The name was cooler than the album.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So this is a perfect example, and I'm really glad that you actually mentioned it because they were definitely on my list as well.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of bands that have done that. I think that there are bands that have put out really cohesive, amazing debut records, and then what they put out after were not great records, but there were records that had great songs on them. And I would have to include, and I hate to say this, and you may disagree with this, but the Pretenders were one of those bands.
You're right. I agree because, well, they fell apart after the first album.
Yeah,
literally.
The Pretenders' first album is cut for cut one of the best debut albums of all time. No question about it. And then they did Extended Play, which had a couple of good songs on it. And then, you had the deaths of Pete Farndon and James Honeyman Scott, and they put out Learning to Crawl with, a whole new iteration of that.
Back on the Chain Gang.
And there's a couple of good songs on there, but they've never put out a monumental record like they did with their debut.
No, absolutely. And again, that debut album stands on its own, even today. I'm going to go with a group that was referred to, and this term got thrown around, I think, too loosely back in the day. They're the next Beatles. The Knack. Right?
It's funny. You and I have the same.
What was the name of it? What was the name of their first album?
Get the Knack.
Get the Knack. That's right. And then the follow-up album, But the Little Girls Understand, gets it had one good song on it. I have it right here. Having a Rave Up, Baby Talks Dirty, but nothing compared to that first album. And they never made it back up there again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were the next Beatles, or the American Beatles. They were American, right?
Yeah.
So
They they had their time, and that first album sold a shitload of copies based upon the two singles that they had, Good Girls Don't and My Sharona.
yeah.
But most people don't know that band beyond those two songs.
No, and then the lead singer, Doug Feiger, he died in 2010. So
Yeah, he died young.
yeah, unfortunate, but they never reached that that pinnacle again.
Yeah.
What do you got for me?
So I for whatever reason, this one comes to mind, and it's more of a local thing, was Till Tuesday. Huge debut record.
Yeah.
Local heroes, put them on the map, made Amy Mann a star, and really not much beyond that. I think they put out, in total, they put out 3 or 4 albums, but they were never able to recapture their hit. And as a result, I think they were kind of categorized as one-hit wonder.
So let me check something while we're talking about that. I want to know. Let me see. I want to see their catalog, because they had a handful of good songs, and I'm wondering what the so the first album. Let's go with the discography, right?
So the second
Voices
album had What About Love?
Welcome Home.
Had Coming Up Close.
Love in a Vacuum.
No,
right?
That was on the first album.
That was on the first one. Okay.
Yep.
So let me see. Yeah, definitely the peak chart position for Voices Carry was on the US, it was 19. Welcome Home was 49, and then Everything's Different Now was 124. So they definitely had a fall off each album. But they had some good songs on those albums, on those first 2 albums, at least.
Sure.
Love the video Love in a Vacuum, where Amy Mann tries to dance. They made her do that 80s. I don't know why she fell for that. She's like, what, 6 feet tall?
Yeah. But hey,
Very
look,
statuesque.
Amy Mann, to her credit, she may not be a household name, but she's carved out a pretty good career.
Certainly.
Being more of a folk singer and whatnot. And she's not
She has a following,
but she definitely has a following. No question about it.
I'd go see her.
Yeah.
I'd go see her. This girl that I'm doing another podcast. I haven't released them yet. What do you
mean you're doing another podcast?
Yeah, I'm cheating
How
on you.
dare you?
I know. It's called His 10, Her 10, and it's a top 10 list podcast. The Train. I love it. I missed that. We didn't get it in the winter because your windows were closed. Supernatural. Every episode. But she, this is my friend Gloria. She's from East Boston. Funny as fuck, this girl. And it's a very funny podcast. I'm going to start releasing the episodes probably in 2 weeks. I wanted to do a cluster. Oh, I don't mind that. I'd rather hear that than your fucking guitar.
Wow.
That's funny. I laughed. See, that's funny. What are you drinking, Jack?
Tea.
He's such a pussy.
I like tea.
I like tea. She's a huge Amy Mann fan. Yeah. So she was telling me this story, but you have to hear it from an Italian girl from East Boston. She talks like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she has that real, and she says, so me and my brother, she says, if you think I have the accent, you should hear my brother. My brother makes me look like I'm from the South. She says, so me, my friend Michelle, and Janie, and him, my brother, we go see Amy Mann at, like, I don't know, it was somewhere in Boston. And she says, during the show, it's an acoustic. She says, during the show, there's a pause in between songs. And my brother yells out, Do hush, hush.
Oh my God.
She says she was fucking mortified. Doesn't know the name of the song. It doesn't say play or can we hear. He says, do hush, hush. He yells it out in the auditorium. Hush, hush. She said everybody turned around and looked and she was like, what the fuck? Do hush, hush. That's my Amy Mann story. You got to hear her tell it, though. It's pretty fucking funny. So I'm going to go with somebody who was labeled the next Sam Cooke back in 1987. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I think you're talking about Terrence
That's
Trent
my boy.
D'Arby.
There you go. I knew you'd know that one.
I actually
Terrence
saw
Trent D'Arby.
I saw him on that tour.
I'll tell you what, man. The dude could fucking sing.
Oh,
he could dance.
Yep.
He had a voice, but he had a fucking ego too.
Oh yeah.
Dude had a bad ego. Yeah.
Kind of destroyed him.
Self-destructed.
Yeah.
Like this, I'm gonna read what this person says. D'Arby was a force when he hit the airwaves, but he never lived up to the success of his debut. He kept putting out music since. Has had a number of hardcore fans who say his output is excellent. And this guy says, personally, I haven't checked it out. Maybe it is. I mean, the dude is just talented, but he fucked himself.
He got way over his skis.
Yeah, I mean, the dude, Wishing Well is just a fucking great song.
But I mean, you know what? A lot of people may not know this, but I mean, one of the things that he was saying, he had a great debut album, a lot of promise. You know, people were, comparing him to some of the greats that were out there. Heavy rotation on MTV. Fantastic live performer. Then he puts out his second record and he goes around to different radio stations and on MTV saying, this record that I just put together and put out is better than Sgt. Pepper's. That
was his mistake. I remember that.
Ooh.
Yeah. You don't do that. Yeah.
No, you don't. Back in those days, you don't shit on the Beatles, man.
No. But he's still putting out music. He just never could reach that pinnacle of a debut album again.
Yep.
You got anything else? What else you got?
I have a couple of them. So, here's one that a little bit more contemporary, not really, anymore. But a band that I love and everybody in my family loves is a band called The Strokes. The Strokes' first album called This Is It was, in our opinion, we love that record. Song for song, there's not a bad tune on there. And this is a band that still headlines arenas, headlines festivals. As a matter of fact, the Boston Calling Festival is in Cambridge this weekend. Headliner on the first night is 9 Inch Nails. Headliner on the third night is Metallica, and the Strokes are actually headlining on Saturday.
Wow!
In my opinion, hugely strong, unbelievable, great debut album. If you haven't listened to it, you really should. But none of their subsequently releases ever lived up to what they put out when they initially got together and put out that first record.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of theirs, or do you know those guys at all?
No, never really caught on.
Yeah, you know why? No synthesizers.
No synths. That's right.
No synths.
That's right. I know there's one. What's their popular song? It's their most popular song.
Well, one of them is Last Night.
Last Night. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Juice Box is one of their other songs.
They were part of that kind of garage band sound. That kicked around for about 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Right. Them and Jet was like that too.
Jet. Well, Jet is another. I mean, Jet, I think only put out 2 or 3 albums, and their first one was great and a lot of fun and light, and they never lived up to it as well.
No. And I think if they were doing this 30 years ago, they would have had more play, but it just shit moves so fast now.
Yeah,
I think.
Well, look, here's another band. Here's another band that's been around forever and a day that have lived off of the energy of their first album. And I may catch a little bit of shit on this, but Boston.
No, you won't catch any shit because actually somebody had mentioned that. Phil Kelly had texted me. He says, "What's the topic tonight?" And I kind of threw it out there, and he said the Cars, but I think Candy-O was just as good as was just as popular as their first album. So I couldn't agree with him on that. But he says Boston, which everybody knows. Boston's second album is what? That's the question, right?
Yeah.
They have a second album.
Don't look back. They were never able to recapture what Tom Schultz had done on his own on that first album. And to respond to Phil's comment about the Cars, I think the Cars' first album is their best album, but they put out some really solid stuff. Candy-O, as you said,
I love
is
that.
a great record. There's a lot of great stuff on Panorama.
Yeah.
And even Heartbeat City.
Heartbeat City, yeah.
That was their biggest album. I think their biggest. They
won a lot of. Wasn't that with Summer?
Yeah,
like a merry-go-round.
I just love it. It adds so much to the show when you sing.
They won a lot of MTV awards, and
it's just fantastic. They were. I mean, think about it. Like the Cars were, they were on kind of an arc. Like they kept gaining in popularity. But their first album is flawless. By the way, it's my wife's absolute favorite album of all time.
And Mark Smith agrees with me. Candy-O is my favorite Cars album.
Candy-O's it was
such
record.
a departure. Just like, and we've had this, I think we had this discussion in like episode 3 or 4. We're on like 55 now, I think 56.
Woo! Well, you're on 55. I'm on 38.
38. I was just gonna say that. Yeah. I think we talked about this. Like, I like Van Halen 2. Although I guess Van Halen 1 and Van Halen 2, Gene Simmons brought them into the studio, and most of those songs were recorded in the same session.
That's not true.
Well, that's the story that Gene Simmons says.
Yeah, and you believe Gene Simmons? He's full of shit.
I have no reason to think he would lie to me.
No, he's full of shit. But
well, I mean, that's not a debate either way. I like Van Halen 2 as much. I know Van Halen 1 is a pretty hard fucking album but I like Van Halen 2 better. It doesn't make it a better album.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
I think same way.
I think part of that is, that first Cars album or even the first Van Halen album are so overplayed that Van Halen 2 and Panorama, Candy-O, have some deeper cuts that didn't get as much play that, you got to kind of keep to yourself a little bit.
But both albums are such a departure from the first album. They went in a different direction. Both were lighter. Both had more. They seemed to be more produced. Like Candy-O is nothing like the Cars' debut album.
Yeah. You know what's cool in jumping back to Van Halen. I was reading a little bit about Van Halen this week. With the exception, so I'm only talking about the David Lee Roth years. So the David Lee Roth years, they put out 6 albums: Van Halen 1, 2, Women and Children First.
Diver Down.
And what's the other one that I'm missing? 1984, and the one with Unchained, and So This Is Love. Fair Warning.
Fair Warning, yeah.
Yeah, Fair Warning. Do you know that with the exception of 1984, all of those albums were by and large recorded on the road, and not recorded on the road, written on the road. And when they got into the studio, like Van Halen 2 was actually recorded in like fucking 5 days.
Just ask Gene Simmons.
Gene Simmons had nothing to do with Van Halen 2, so just get off of that.
I'm just saying what he said.
Look, listen to me.
I'll find the interview. I'll play it in 2 weeks when you're not here.
Gene Simmons claims to have discovered Van Halen and actually produced their demo. And I've actually listened to the demo that he produced. It's terrible. And I hate to say this because it sounds terrible, But like Van Halen 1 and Van Halen 2, like all of their albums, until 1984, they were all produced by Ted Templeman, who also produced the Doobie Brothers. That he was able to capture their sound, so it was really vibrant, and it had a lot of high end to it, and had a lot of impact. The demo that Gene Simmons produced for Van Halen sounded like a Kiss album. It sounded like a Kiss album.
Fucking Mark Smith, comment of the night. Gene Simmons has Van Halen cigarette butts for sale. That's a fucking comment of the night.
Gene Simmons, that boy,
he collected this cigarette butts.
That boy will sell anything.
Especially Van Halen cigarette butts.
Yeah.
Fucking comment of the night. Oh my God. Then Perry Dieterman says, is there an R in Cars?
Guys. Hey, Perry.
We're from Boston. It's our band. Leave us alone.
Yeah, what do you want from us, huh?
It's our band, our town, our accent. I'm gonna go with this one. The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill in 1998. Lauryn Hill came from the Fugees, beautiful, married to one of the Marley kids. Fucking album sold millions. She won 7 Grammys for that album that year, 6 maybe. But the strange thing is, other than an unplugged recording that she did, she never did another album.
Nope, that's it. One and done.
Well, the unplugged was its own thing, but it never. What happened? I think, you know what? I think there was lawsuits. I think there was some lawsuits involved.
There may have been lawsuits. It's sometimes, you have artists that they have one album in them. That's it.
She is a talented girl.
She is a talented, and she does tour occasionally.
Yeah. Yeah. But probably, she made all that money and married to a Marley. That's money. Sometimes money and having kids, and you're just like, yeah, fucking done.
Yeah, but, maybe, she gets into a different phase of her life and she becomes a mother, and, the music industry being what it is, I mean, it's rough and there's a lot of pressure, and, how do you live up to that first album, with all the Grammys and the recognition and the album sales and whatnot? Maybe it's just like, you know what? I said what I needed to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
I said what I needed to say. You know what? Unfortunately, there are plenty of bands out there that probably should have done the same thing, but nope, They carried on and on and on, trying to, try to capture lightning in a bottle again.
Yeah.
So, I have a couple of other, albums or bands. Like, for me, I'm not suggesting that the band didn't have success or didn't have good songs here and there, but even for me, like the B-52s, their debut album was absolutely brilliant, groundbreaking. The inspiration for John Lennon to get back into the music business.
Right.
And the rest of their albums, I think they had good records.
What was it? What was the second one? Cosmic Thing?
Cosmic Thing was the one with Love Shack on it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
The second one was the red cover with Planet Claire. Am I thinking the right thing?
Let me see. I'm going to tell you right now. So discography. So it was Wild Planet. That's what it was.
Wild Planet.
Yeah.
Good record.
I'll tell you what, Wild Planet. So don't underestimate that one, man. I don't know. You might not be. I don't know if you're right on this one, because you have on this one you have Party Out of Bounds, Give Me Back My Man, Private Idaho, Quiche Lorraine, Strobe Light. I don't know, man. I don't know if I can agree that their second album wasn't as good as their first album.
No, the first album's 10 times better.
So the first album, their debut album, you had track listing of Planet Claire, 52 Girls, Dance This Mess Around, Rock Lobster. Then you have Lava. There's a Moon in the Sky called The Moon, Hero Worship, Downtown, 6060-84. To see, a lot of people don't know that there's other songs on that album that weren't that good, that weren't that popular. This is a great side one. It's a great side one. But side two, like the Tubes, side two of the actually, that was side two. This side two was the only side you listen to in the Tubes debut album.
See,
Just
I love that first B-52s record from.
Oh, I do too.
Song to song. And again, I think Wild Planet is a good record, but I don't think they captured what they had on that first record.
Well, what they captured was uniqueness.
This is purely my opinion.
Well, sometimes your opinion doesn't really matter.
Yes, apparently not.
It doesn't really.
Maybe Mark Smith's or Perry's opinion will matter when they take over the show.
When they take over,
wouldn't it be
Joan Rivers position, the Joan Rivers spot?
Wouldn't it be funny if 6 months from now the show was Perry and Mark Smith, and neither of you or I were on it anymore?
They take it both over.
Those first guys weren't nearly as good as those first albums that they loved.
As if those two got together and started their own fucking podcast, I'd be, what the fuck? And they call it Turntables and Milk Crates. And they go total opposite of us anyways. I'm going to break. What's that?
How about Bad Company?
That's a good one. You're onto something there. Yeah.
Bad Company had a great debut album.
They certainly did.
And they had, songs after the fact that were okay. But they had some great songs after that, but I don't think they had a great album like they did with their debut.
Mark Smith, tilt crates and turntables. You're digging deep, buddy. You're digging deep.
Yeah,
you're digging deep, buddy. You should have stuck with the Gene Simmons as Van Halen cigarette butts for sale. You should have stopped there, Mark Smith.
Yeah,
you went too far.
Maybe he doesn't have the stuff.
Some people, you just gotta. Sometimes you gotta sit back and say, "That's all, folks. I'm good. I can't beat that one tonight."
You're going to get people in the future that are going to say Mark Smith and Perry Dietovich, they're the Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 of their crazy turntables.
But which one is 1 and which one is 2? Tito's. He's drinking some Tito's. There you go, Mark.
Wouldn't it be hilarious if Mark actually meant that he was with Tito Jackson?
Tito Santana.
And Tito Puente.
Or Tito and Tarantula. I got you. Christopher Cross. 1979. Fucking dude swept the Grammys. Right? Had some great yacht rock songs. That was it.
Yeah. Well, look, you have some of those people that suffer the sophomore curse. They win the new artist on the Grammys, and they don't really live up to those that first day. But hey, what about Sheryl Crow? That first, she had some hits
after that. She had some hits after that.
She had some hits, but that first album. What about the first Norah Jones album?
Is there another one after that one? That fucking album. Another one. She 8 Grammys, I think she won with that.
Yeah.
Ravi Yag, what's his name? Her father?
Ravi Shankar.
Ravi Shankar. Yeah. She was a beautiful girl too.
I think one of the most sexy and sultry voices of all time.
Could be. How about Rage Against the Machine?
She's number 1. I think Scott McLean is number 2. Sexy, sultry voices.
Yes, I do.
All right.
Rage Against the Machine. album was Dynamite. First fucking album was
First
Dynamite.
album was Dynamite.
And
I
Evil
do
Empire didn't really reach the heights of their first album.
Yeah, but what about the third one? What is it?
Battle of Los Angeles.
Battle of Los Angeles. I love some of the songs on that one.
Yeah, but their first album was just like their pinnacle right off the bat. I just think there was not. I don't think any of those albums sold more than the first album.
Well, same time frame. You know, most people know the second album a little bit better. The first Jane's Addiction album, they've never lived up to their promise. That first album is fucking fantastic.
Yeah, it is. It is. Then they had, MTV helped them along.
Yeah,
with, what was the name of the second album with Being Caught Stealing and
Ritual de Habitual.
They Habitual, blah blah blah. Yeah. Yeah, I got to pull something up real quick. So let me.
What about
you'll get a kick out of this.
What about 9 Inch Nails?
Yeah, another one. Yeah, that just never. Let's see. I know it's here. I know you're here. Is this it? No. You'll get a kick out of this. You can never find it when you really want it. Oh, here we go. Ready? There we go.
Señores y señoras, nosotros tenemos más influencia con sus hijos que tú tienes, pero los queremos. Creado y regado de Los Ángeles, Juana's Adicción.
I love that intro. That girl is sexy as hell too.
But by the way, just a side story. Yeah. So when they put out that record, they did a tour and they played the Orpheum Theater, which is a small theater in Boston, holds maybe 2,700. And me and a buddy of mine went to see that show. And just as the lights went down and Jane's Addiction came out, I saw to my right, something caught my eye, the security guards, 4 of them were carrying a guy out. It was my brother, Jimmy.
Why?
Thrown out of the show. He was drunk.
Oh, Jesus. Speaking of Jimmy, Ministry's on tour again, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought they weren't. What's his name? The lead singer?
Al Jorgensen.
Al Jorgensen. He said like fucking 5 years ago, that's it, we're done. No, you're not.
Yeah. No.
Al needs money, evidently.
Dude, none of them are ever done. The Who played in Boston.
I know. They're never done. Hey, I want to get to something that I wanted to talk to you about last week, but, well, you weren't here.
Oh.
Yeah, well, that's what you get. Let's see. So I read this article. No, this is serious. I read this article, and it was saying, no, that's about Chris Cornell. That's the Rock Hall of Fame. So it basically said that I wish I could find it. It was
good segment. This is awesome.
Yeah. No. That what's his name? Drummer for the Foo Fighters. Taylor Hawkins was he had a meeting with Dave Grohl saying, I can't tour. I can't do this tour. It's fucking killing me. I can't do it. And Dave Grohl was like, no, man, come on. They kind of pumped him up. And he was like, I can't do it. And he called a couple of other drummers that he knows. It's in the article that we know. And they basically said, yeah, that's what he told us. He told me that he talked to Dave. And the Dave Grohl camp is like, we never had that conversation. Never had that conversation.
Yeah.
So why would Taylor Hawkins, why would these other drummers lie? And now you kind of piece that together with his suicide. He was a fragile dude.
Well, wait,
whoa, Dave Grohl was the alpha.
Whoa, hold on. Let's back up.
All right.
What do you mean suicide? He didn't commit suicide.
Well, he OD'd, right?
There's a big difference there.
Did they say the OD was accidental?
He overdosed.
Did they say it was accidental?
Yeah.
So every overdose is accidental. It's not a suicide.
I'm not saying that. You're making an assumption. You're saying that Taylor Hawkins committed suicide, and that's
all right. I'll say he overdosed by mistake. By mistake.
Thank you. Look, you have to understand something, Scott. Let me just take a second and just make sure that you understand. One of the reasons why I don't come on the show all the time.
Here comes the douchey Jack.
And we carry a heavy burden in that people rely upon us for their music news and their music knowledge.
No fake news.
It's absolutely imperative that we convey things accurately.
Well, I guess you're right. Maybe I missed. He overdosed.
And for you to say that is just irresponsible.
Are you chastising me? Are you fucking chastising me?
It's
Get
reckless.
The fuck out of here.
It's outrageous. It's litigious. It's outrageous. Scandalous.
Yeah. Okay. I'll get litigious on you. You know that contract you signed is binding, and you can't do any other podcasts.
But so let me just comment on this to the degree that I know, and I don't know much. I have not read the article. So the thing that Scott is referencing, there's a pretty long article in one of the more recent issues of Rolling Stone magazine where they talk about Taylor Hawkins' last days, and they do make the accusations and the assumptions that Scott had listed. And they do talk about some drummers that contributed to the story that said that they had some interactions or conversations with Taylor Hawkins, one of them being Matt Cameron from Pearl Jam. After the article had come out and there was some backlash, Matt Cameron, and I'm not saying that he's backtracking or what he claims was that in the article, his comments were taken out of context and that, he was not trashing Dave Grohl or the Foo Fighters.
No, I don't think he's trashing them. I think, yeah.
there may be a little bit of politicking going on there that, maybe.
You think?
Maybe Matt Cameron did say that, and maybe that is accurate. One of the challenging things, and hey, let's go back to Lauryn Hill. Look, Taylor Hawkins, whether he committed suicide or whether he died accidentally, was under a great deal of pressure. And when you're involved in a machine like the Foo Fighters are, where you're employing 200 plus employees, truck drivers, people that build the stages, promoters, all of the people that are relying upon their income, they're relying upon Dave Grohl and Taylor Hawkins and the rest of the Foo Fighters to get out there and to do their thing. And it creates a lot of pressure. And for somebody like Dave Grohl, it's got to be really challenging to, turn down those things where he feels like he's letting people down. People will say, hey, the Rolling Stones, why do they keep touring? They don't need any money. No, they don't need any more money. But their truck drivers do. Their crew does. Their guitar technicians and whatnot, that's their livelihood and probably has been their livelihood for a number of different years. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong or indifferent, but that's one of the reasons why bands tour as much as they do. And I think, Dave Grohl in particular is he's got an appetite for this thing. He loves being out there. He is probably doing it while he can because Dave Grohl famously doesn't really wear earplugs and sings until he blows his voice out. He probably knows that he's got a shelf life. And he probably did put undue pressure on Taylor Hawkins and the rest of the band to get out there.
I have to counter that with, if Dave Grohl put pressure on him to do that, then he's a fucking asshole. Because, okay, I've seen Korn, 7 times, right? Once I saw them without Head, one of their guitar players, because Head had decided, I need a break. This band is fucking killing me. I need a break. So what does Korn do? They go get Buckethead. And they go on tour with Buckethead. Then the last time I saw them, Fieldy, the bass player, was having some personal issues. Jonathan Davis, Monkey, Head, they were all like, dude, you know what? You go take care of you. We're good. You're still part of the band. They brought in the bassist from Suicidal Tendencies, right? And they toured with him. So for Dave Grohl to say, I need you, man, I need you. You can't, you got to come out. If he did that to him, that's fucked up because you can always substitute a fucking drummer.
No, you can't.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't. So
okay,
look,
so the fucking Rolling Stones should have just stopped touring. They don't have a backup for Charlie Watts.
No, but there's a big difference. Hold on. I understand your point. I just disagree with it. You know, the example that you used was with Korn, and I think that the players that you had mentioned are replaceable. I don't think that the passive Korn listener is going to notice whether Buckethead is playing or Head is playing or whoever.
But they do.
Look, that's just my opinion. I think that Taylor Hawkins had become such an integral part of the Foo Fighters, so much so that he not only played drums, but Dave Grohl had him come out and sing. He was a big part of that band.
I'm gonna say no. That's a bad example.
By the way, you know, you're making assumptions. You don't know what the conversations were, nor do I.
And either way, I'm going to use your example. Say it is the case. We'll just say it is the case because you can't say it wasn't the case, right?
No, I can't.
Okay, so we'll say for this example, this is the case. By your rationale, the passive Foo Fighter listener doesn't know who the fuck is playing the drums.
That's not true.
It is true. I think because maybe you're a little more of a Foo Fighter fan. Do you think
wait a minute.
You think my stepson who's 22 is going to know the difference if Taylor Hawkins isn't playing on the Foo Fighters tour?
Listen, hold on a second. I need you to take a breath. I need you to do an exercise technique that is going to take your blood pressure down a little bit.
Do I have to do a Kegel? Do my Kegels? Is that what that is?
I want you to say as fast as you can, Foo Fighter fan 10 times.
Foo Fighter fan, 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 Foo Fighter fan.
Very good. Do you feel better now?
That was nine. Foo Fighter fan.
Look, I agree with you. I think that if Dave Grohl had a real conversation with Taylor Hawkins and Taylor Hawkins said, "Look, I need some downtime, man. I'm fried. I'm not going to make this tour. I'm not going to survive it or whatnot." If Dave Grohl had gone out and gotten, just for the sake of our discussion, let's say that he got Matt Cameron from Pearl Jam, or let's say he got Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Red Hot Chili Peppers, yeah.
And they went out on tour. Do I think that they would have sold one less ticket? No, I don't.
No. People go to see Dave Grohl.
They go to see the fun that is the Foo Fighters. Dave Grohl is absolutely 90.
They go to see Dave Matthews and the fun that is the Dave Matthews Band. But they go to see Dave Matthews.
I think that's...
And the Dave Matthews Band is one of the most not popular, but one of the most talented fucking backup bands that has to be out on the road.
No question.
So,
but the Dave Matthews Band, to your point, has lost members.
Yeah.
One of them was caught up in a scandal, and one of them died.
Yeah.
And I would have to say that 90%.
That was a weird accident too.
Yeah. ATV
four-wheeler. Yeah.
I would say that 90% of the people that are going to see Dave Matthews don't realize that those two people that were once in the band are no longer in the band.
There's certain people though that you will notice, like the violin player, the tall black guy.
Yeah,
you'd notice him not being there. There's certain players that stand out, right?
Yeah, he's gone. But I will tell you, being a fan of the Dave Matthews band,
I wouldn't know because I never saw them.
I know that we're going out on a little bit of a tangent, but the band is actually better without him.
Really?
Much.
I'll have to take your word for it, but that's shows you how much I've listened to him in the past 10 years.
Much.
All right, speaking of 10, I got a new segment, Jack.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Top 10 songs in the country this week, and then I pick a year. So last week was 1980, right? Now it's the top 10 songs this week in America in 1993.
Welcome to America's Top 40.
Well, this is the top 10.
This week, the top 10 records.
You just wait till I do my segments and you just bust my fucking balls, don't you?
In 1982.
Yeah.
This dedication goes out to little Scott McLean,
I'm gonna fucking mute you.
a big fan of
Big fan of Cane's mayonnaise.
a big fan of canned corn.
Okay.
All right,
I thought you were gonna say Cane's mayonnaise. Number 10 this week. Number 10 this week in America.
Number 10 this week.
In 1993, 7 by Prince and the New Power Generation. Let me see. Why isn't there number 9? I'm missing number 9. I'll go to number 8. Number 9 didn't matter anyways. How did I miss fucking 9? Number 8.
Number 9.
Good
Number
Enough
9.
by Bobby Brown. Number 7, Deeper and Deeper by Madonna. Number 6, A Whole New World by Peebo Bryson and Regina Bell.
This is a great segment. I love it.
Hey, listen, last week was better, had better songs, but I just pick a year. I fucking pick a year. Doesn't matter. It's content. It's fucking content, all right? Plus, Scott, the IT guy who left fucking an hour and 20 minutes ago, he's always like, you don't do anything in the 90s. Number 5, All I Want to Do Is a Zoom, Zoom, Zoom in the Boom, Boom. Just Shake Your Butt. Rump Shaker by Rex and Effect. Number 4.
By Neil Young.
Saving Forever for You by Shanice. Number 3. And this tells you how bad the music was in the 90s. People say the 80s had bad music. The fucking 90s had some shit music too. In the Still of the Night by
Whitesnake.
No, Boys to Men.
Oh.
No, except they spell night N-I-T-E. That's true. That's true. Number 2, If I Ever Fall in Love by Shy. And number 1, Jack, this is my song to you. And I will always love you.
Man.
By Whitney Houston.
But written by, who's it written by?
Prince. Dolly Parton.
Dolly Parton.
Yeah, I know.
Bravo.
Prince wrote everything else. All right, this day in music, 1965. Jack, you'll be interested in this one. I snuck that right by you. Yeah.
Wait a minute. We're doing the songs of a year and this day in music.
Oh yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. You'll like this one.
All right.
Well, actually, you'll know. You probably will know this. I think you will know this. You should know this. On this day in 1965, blues harmonica player, singer, and songwriter Sonny Boy Williamson died in his sleep. Van Morrison, Aerosmith, The Who, The Animals, Yardbirds, and Moody Blues all covered his songs. According to the Led Zeppelin biography, Hammer of the Gods, touring the UK in the 60s, Sonny Boy set his room on fire while trying to cook a rabbit in a coffee percolator.
Yum
that?
City.
Did you know that? No?
I did.
He tried to cook a rabbit in it. Hey, you know what? That dude was real. He was old school. Fuck this hotel room service. I'm going to go kill a rabbit.
Have you ever had rabbit?
No.
It's pretty yummy.
Okay. Does it taste like chicken?
Yeah, it does.
Then I'll just eat fucking chicken, all right? Next. On this day in 1968, Simon and Garfunkel scored their second U.S. number 1 with Bookends. The albums featured 4 U.S. singles. Number 1 album. 4 U.S. singles. A Hazy Shade of Winter, written by the Bangles. At the Zoo. That one got right by you. You're fading, buddy. Fake It, and Mrs. Robinson.
It's all happening at the zoo.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I've never listened to a Simon and Garfunkel album, but
I do believe it.
This is interesting. On this day in 1969, The Who and Led Zeppelin appeared at the Merriweather Post Pavilion, Columbia, Maryland, in the USA. This was the only time the two groups have ever appeared together, with Zeppelin opening the show. On the tickets, Led Zeppelin was spelled L-E-A-D. How much you think that ticket stub is worth?
A lot.
Here's a big fuck you to you, Jack.
Ooh, wow.
I'm going to drink some water for this one. This is a big fuck you to Jack.
That's pretty harsh, man.
Well, this is going back 4 shows.
Wow.
Where you shredded me. You shredded me
so much.
You shredded me 4 shows ago. On this day in 1974, Rick Wakeman became the first member of the group Yes to have a #1 UK album when Journey to the Center of the Earth went to the top of the charts. So fuck you, Jack. Oh, who listens to Journey? Who listens to that album? You had that album? Who listened to that album? No one ever listened to that album. That's you.
Hey, since when did it become one of the Cosby kids?
Yeah.
On that album.
Rick Wakeman. Who listened to Rick Wakeman? Rick Wakeman. That's Journey to the Center of the Earth. What is that? That was you. So a big F you, buddy.
Sounds just like me.
Okay. On this day in 1978, after seeing The Hype, soon to become
The Who.
No.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. You too.
Yeah. Jack's fading. Appearing at the Project Art Center in Dublin, McGuinn became their manager. On this day in 1985, Dire Straits scored their second UK #1 album with Brothers in Arms, and David Knopfler still hasn't seen a penny from that one. On this day in 1997, Bob Dylan was diagnosed as suffering from histoplasmosis pericarditis, a fungal infection that says you can't fucking sing. That's it. He took some drugs and he still can't sing. On this, that was actually pretty good. The Alameda County Sheriff's on this day in 2005. The Alameda. Okay, all right. What are you, fucking Mark Smith? You just gonna kill the joke like he did earlier? Oh, listen, speaking of Mark Smith, he says, my son is watching the show with me, and all he has to say is, you old men are fucked. Okay. All right. Let's see. On this day in 2005, the Alameda County Sheriff's Office in California announced that it was officially closing the stabbing case of Meredith Hunter, the 18-year-old American who was killed at the 1969 Rolling Stones Altamont Free concert. Investigators concluding a renewed 2-year investigation dismissed the theory that a second Hell's Angel took part in the stabbing.
Dude, not for nothing. The guy had a gun. He was pointing a gun at this stage. I mean, come on.
There on video. But they were saying that a second Hell's Angel stabbed him too. That was the thing. Yeah. Born on this day, one of the greats, buddy. One of the fucking greats. And I mentioned him last week on the show that you weren't on. Hal David, American singer, songwriter, pianist, and arranger, who with Burt Bacharach wrote many classics, including Close to You, 24 Hours from Tulsa, Make It Easy on Yourself, Magic Moments, and I Say a Little Prayer. He won 2 Oscars for the film score to Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and for Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, sang by who?
B.J. Thomas.
Attaboy. And the reason he was brought up last week, the show you weren't on, was Dionne Warwick. Dionne Warwick was mentioned as going into the, she was one of the nominees. And one of the big pushes that one of the voters had was, although she didn't write her own music or write her own songs, she definitely took Hal David and Burt Bacharach's songs and really molded them into her own, and really gave those songs life.
Look, writing your own songs shouldn't be a criteria of being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Exactly.
If it was, you got to pull Elvis out.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think Elvis ever wrote a song in his life.
How
many songs do you think Frank Sinatra wrote?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It wasn't a thing back then. And you know what? Evidently today, there's a shortage of songwriters in the music industry.
Oh my God. You look, immediately you and I have to stop the production of the show and go into songwriting.
Okay. Born on this day, and I'm going back 17 shows for this one. Paul Weller, who I referred to at one point as Peter Weller, only because Peter Weller is an actual person. That's the motherfucker that played RoboCop. That's where Peter Weller, because you were like, whoa, Peter Peter? It's Paul. That's what you said to me. That's
Well,
exactly
look,
what you said to me. Whoa. Peter?
I don't look. I don't know if you know this, Scott, or not, but there are a legion of fans out there. Our 7 fans rely upon us for their music knowledge, and they rely upon us to be accurate and specific.
Oh, here we go again. Think you just lectured me 10 minutes ago about this? This is fake news.
This is one of the main attractions of this particular podcast is people know they can come here and not only be entertained, but walk away with reliable knowledge that they can impress their other friends with. And when you say Peter Weller,
all right.
It diminishes the value of the show. And
No, it doesn't. You know why?
Come on every week.
Because somebody out there said, Peter Weller, I didn't know fucking RoboCop wrote music. That's what they said. So there's people out there, just like Taylor Hawkins' drummer. No one knew till you mentioned it. They would have thought RoboCop was a songwriter. Asshole. But no, Jack has to douse me in gasoline. And born on this day in 1975, the woman we talked about a little earlier, Lauryn Hill. Happy birthday.
Lauryn Hill. Happy birthday.
Hey, I have a future conversation for next week. I have that I'm gonna tip you off now. I want to know, and don't give me the answer now. This is going to be a good discussion. What is the best Beatles solo album? Stop. Don't say anything. Don't. I think that's a good conversation. I'm going to mute you. You see your mouth after that. Don't ruin the. Let the fans, give the fans a cliffhanger. Best Beatles solo album. So I think that'll be a good topic to start off next week with.
I know which band member it didn't come from.
We'll talk about that, won't we?
If
you show up.
I don't want to give any clues, but his name rhymes with bingo.
Dingo? Anyways, all right, that's the show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you listening. We appreciate you watching. If you like the podcast, share it. Tell a friend about it. If you like the YouTube video, share it.
An hour and 42 minutes. This is insane.
Fucking killed it tonight, buddy.
Holy Christ.
I know. At least we're going to catch the best part of the Celtics game.
This is like the Lord of the Rings director's cut. Holy God.
It would have been an hour and 20 minutes if you didn't fucking chastise me.
Dude, why don't you be more accurate in your farewell? Hey, for those people that are still listening to us, get a fucking life, will you?
Hey, they like long podcasts. We have good content. All right, like I always say, you are the engine that drives this machine. Without you, it'd just be me talking to Jack, and well, that's not always fun. And doing this show for you, to quote my favorite artist, Morrissey, the pleasure, the privilege is mine and Jack's. And we will see you next week. Jack has to go to bed. Good night. Say good night, Jack.
I might be here next week. I don't know.